Today, we're diving into Healy's chart, Australia's quest for Cricket World Cup glory. It's a really fascinating look at Australia's plans and, well, hopes for the 2025 Women's ODI World Cup, with Alyssa Healy leading the charge.
It is a solid piece.
Definitely strong. So let's jump right in. How can we make this narrative even more powerful?
Okay, so first off, the material does a great job juggling, Australia's actual title defense and the bigger picture, the boom in women's cricket globally. It really shows Healy's leadership well.
It does. You get a good sense of both sides.
But to really maximize the impact, to pull the reader right in, I think there's a chance here to consistently sharpen the focus back onto Alyssa Healy's personal charge.
Okay, so keeping her front and center. What happens if that focus wanders a bit? What's the risk?
Well, it's a great question because, like we said, it covers both the World Cup and the general growth, which is good context. But sometimes the narrative just broadens out quite a lot.
Right, to the whole sport.
Exactly. And that context, while valuable, it can accidentally, dilute the immediate personal stakes for Healy. For her leadership, her team trying to get that 8th title.
So the energy of Healy's charge itself kind of gets diffused?
Yeah, precisely. It gets a little lost in those wider descriptions of the sport's progress. It's kind of like having a spotlight that, sometimes lights up the whole stage instead of just focusing tightly on the main star.
Got it. So it's making sure that the whole world of women's cricket is really serving her story, not just running parallel to it.
Spot on.
The document makes a really compelling case for how big women's cricket is now. Over 1 billion viewers, the WPL's impact. How do we make sure that exciting context feeds back into Healy's specific challenge?
Right. So the core suggestion is basically this. Anchor all the discussions, even the ones about the sport's amazing growth, back to how they specifically influence Healy and her squad for this 2025 World Cup.
Okay.
Or how they exemplify something about her situation, or maybe pose a specific challenge for her. It's about keeping that laser focus on her journey.
Right.
So, for example, when it talks about booming viewership or the big money in women's cricket, and it mentions like Smriti Mandhana's huge WPL auction price, which is impressive.
Yeah, $415,000.
Exactly. Frame that through the lens of how Healy's generation specifically is positioned to benefit. Or maybe how that higher profile adds pressure just for her team in India.
Okay. So it's not just a fact, it's a factor for her?
Precisely. It connects the big trend to her personal story. Or, the other way around. How does all this new global attention crank up the pressure, magnify the opportunity for her team's performance?
Makes sense.
And similarly, there's that section, the bigger picture, women's cricket on the rise. Great points about WPL salaries, cricket getting into the Olympics in 28, huge developments.
Absolutely massive for the sport.
For sure. But to sharpen the focus, you need to explicitly link those points back. How do they impact the players Healy leads right now? Their motivation for this World Cup, the extra scrutiny they're under as defending champs.
Okay, so always asking how does this affect Healy's charge?
Yes, these aren't just side notes. They're part of the dynamic environment, shaping her quest, her legacy. Ultimately, it's basic storytelling, right? Every detail should serve the central story and character. Make the reader care more about their journey.
That's a really powerful way to put it. Okay, let's look at that section on conquering the subcontinent. It does a good job describing the challenges, the pitches, dew, heat, crowds.
Yeah, it sets the scene well.
But how do we make sure Healy is clearly the one steering the ship through all that?
Right. The setting is vivid, but to make it stronger, you want to ensure every point there relates directly back to how Healy prepares the team for those specific conditions.
Okay.
Or what her energetic and inclusive leadership, which the piece mentions, actually means for handling that pressure cooker environment.
So showing that leadership style in action.
Exactly.
For instance, how does her inclusivity specifically help those 5 debutantes adjust to playing high-stakes cricket in India? Does it create a safety net, reduce stress?
Good question.
Or how does her energy help the team tackle the puzzle, as the document calls it, of India's variable pitches? Does it help them adapt faster, turn a challenge into maybe a strategic edge?
Right, showing her direct influence on overcoming those obstacles.
Yeah, it's showing her agency. These are just, a few ways to do it, but the key is always tying it back to her leadership and its impact.
That's really clear.
Okay, so once we've got that focus on Healy nailed down, the next big opportunity seems to be how we invite the reader into this world and then how we leave them feeling afterwards.
Mm-hmm. The bookends.
Exactly. Our second point is about, well, elevating the opening and closing, making them really engaging. Right now, they're informative, sure, but they could be much stronger. Immerse the reader right away and leave a more powerful final thought.
Yeah, absolutely crucial for grabbing and holding the reader. The intro currently starts quite broadly about cricket itself. Cricket, that timeless game.
Right before it gets to Healy.
Yeah, and while it's true, it doesn't immediately throw you into the specific drama, the high stakes we're actually here for. It delays the hook into her charge.
Okay.
And the conclusion, similarly, it tends to summarize the document's points. It even says something like, in this 5,000-word exploration.
Ah, yeah. Less summary, more impact needed.
Exactly. It should feel less like a report summary and more like a powerful final chord that resonates. We want the reader to feel the weight of the moment, you know? Be invested, not just informed.
So, if the current opening is a bit too gentle, how do we make it grab someone right from the first sentence? Pull them into the stadium noise, the pressure. And then for the ending, how do we leave them with that sense of significance?
Great questions. The suggestion is to craft an opening that immediately establishes the intense atmosphere, the unique challenges, and the central figure Healy and her team's quest.
Get right to it.
Right. And for the conclusion, move beyond just summarizing. Aim for a reflective statement that hammers home the core message, the emotional core of Australia's pursuit.
Okay. Give me an example. How could that opening sound?
Well, instead of the general cricket description, maybe start with the feeling, the tension. Imagine something like, the humid Indian air crackles with anticipation. In just weeks, Alyssa Healy leads her Australian squad onto dusty pitches, carrying a nation's hopes defend the World Cup crown. This isn't just another tournament, it's Healy's charge, a quest heavy with legacy and that fierce drive for an 8th title.
Wow. Okay. That lands differently. It drops you right in.
Yeah, it creates that urgency, that importance from sentence 1, grounds the reader immediately in the specific story and its emotional weight.
And what makes that so much more effective, really?
It's about priming the readers psychologically, setting them up for deep engagement from the get-go. And it keeps Healy right there at the center.
Okay. And the closing? Instead of in this exploration?
Right. Aim higher. Think about the team's legacy, maybe the enduring spirit of Australian cricket, or what an 8th World Cup under Healy would actually mean for women's sport.
More reflective.
Exactly. Like, perhaps, as Alyssa Healy strides out, bat in hand, she carries more than a team. She carries a legacy woven into Australia's sporting soul. The 2025 World Cup in India? It's more than a tournament. It's a crucible. And for Healy and Australia, it's a chance to etch their names deeper still into history, inspiring millions, maybe redefining what's possible.
Yeah, that leaves a much stronger final impression. Less summary, more...
Leaves a resonant echo. These are just ideas, of course, many ways to do it, but that's the direction.
That shift from summary to reflection is really key. Okay, so we've sharpened the focus, refined the presentation. Now let's sort of peel back the layers on how this success actually happens. The engine room, you could say.
The why behind the what.
Exactly. Our third area is about deepening the why behind Australia's dominance. The material lists the elements investment, WBBL, squad depth, Healy's leadership, but it could dig deeper into how these things actually combine to create that winning machine. It gives us the ingredients, but maybe not the full recipe. Is there a danger readers just see it as magic, almost, instead of deliberate excellence?
Absolutely. That's the next level for this piece. It does identify the components well. Investment, the WBBL being strong, squad depth, Healy being energetic and inclusive, mentions the contracts, the big crowd at the T20 final.
Yeah, all the pieces are there.
But it could be more explicit in showing the causal link. How do these things directly lead to winning consistently, especially under World Cup pressure? We know what they have, but to really get their dominance, we need the how, the mechanisms. Otherwise, Yeah, it could feel a bit mystical.
So that's a great way to put it, the mechanism. So the suggestion is more analytical insight, show how the investment, the domestic league, Healy's style all translate into actual on-field success, especially in India?
Precisely. Connect the dots more clearly. Show the reader the inner workings.
Okay, how might that look?
Well, take the point about Cricket Australia supports women's programs with professional contracts. Don't just state it. Elaborate. How does that support directly create the depth, experience, and versatility Healy talks about?
Right.
Maybe show it with an example. A specific player developed through that system, say, an all-rounder who became crucial for adapting to Indian conditions, someone who fills a gap other teams might have. It's not just that they have contracts, it's what those contracts enable. Year-round training, coaching, mental prep that directly feeds into winning a World Cup.
Show the strategy behind it.
Exactly. That's where the story of their dominance really comes alive, right? It's not just broad statements, it's the specific actions building a champion team.
Makes total sense.
And then Healy's leadership, energetic and inclusive. We know what it is. Now connect it to results. Specific advantages, better team cohesion. How does her inclusivity prep the debutantes for India? Maybe differently than a more top-down style would. Does it empower them, help them adapt faster?
Yeah, the practical application.
Or how does her energy help counter that intense crowd pressure the piece mentions? Does it build resilience, distract from nerves? We need to see the link between the leadership quality and the concrete outcome on the field.
Right, moving beyond just describing the style into analyzing its effect. Cause and effect.
You got it. And finally, the WBBL. Instead of just saying it hones skills, explain how. How does playing in that league, day in, day out, against top bowlers, let someone like Phoebe Litchfield refine her graceful drives under pressure before she even gets to the national team?
So it's a proving ground, but how exactly?
Yeah. Show its specific role in the pipeline. How does it build mental toughness, tactical smarts? Reveal the machinery behind the magic. Turn the list of strengths into, like, a blueprint for building champions. Again, just a few ways to show those connections.
That's excellent, really practical feedback. Okay, so just to quickly recap the main things we discussed. First, sharpening that narrative focus, right onto Alyssa Healy's charge, making sure her journey is always the anchor.
Keep her central.
Second, enhancing the opening and closing for real engagement, grabbing the reader immediately and leaving them with a powerful, lasting thought.
Right, stronger bookends.
And third, really deepening the analysis of why Australia is so dominant, going beyond listing the factors to showing how they actually connect and create that consistent success.
Exactly. Unpacking the how.
So overall, focusing the narrative tightly on Healy, crafting that immersive beginning and reflective end, and really analyzing the links behind Australia's success.
Yeah, doing those things will significantly elevate what's already a really strong and compelling piece. Implementing these suggestions, I think, will take this fascinating story to an even more impactful level, really capture the reader from the first word to the last.
Fantastic. We're really looking forward to seeing the next version and definitely invite you to send your work back in for more feedback once you've had a chance to work with these ideas.